Next panel is Russell Fish, Linda Frazee, Christine Dendron, and Sophie Phillips. You'll come up to the front, provide your name, who you represent, and we'll get started with testimony. The next four, after they finish their testimony, will be Deborah King, Cindy Holster, Jolene Sanders, and Larson Stallant. Russell Fish.
That would be me.
Thank you.
My name is Russell Fish. I'm a volunteer with the Open Records Project. It's openrecords.org. You may remember us from the TOS cheating scandal that doomed Ann Richards' re-election, or the Dallas financial scandal that sent Superintendent Yvonne Gonzalez to federal prison, or the publication of the sex offender registry that uncovered massive failure of Texas sex offender probation. We are here today to testify against state-sponsored elder looting and its tax-funded perpetrators. The perpetrators appear to include rogue elements inside APS and DADS, for-profit guardians, for-profit service providers, and some probate judges. We will address APS and DADS today. The APS mission statement is to protect seniors from abuse, neglect, and financial exploitation. Our investigation seems to indicate that elements of APS, in fact, are abusers and exploiters of the Texas elderly. The committee staff and HHF self-report is concerned with the turnover of social workers, the underfunding crisis, and the legal restrictions imposed by the legislature. However, not once in either report is there any indication that report preparers actually interviewed senior Texas victims of APS or DADS elderly. Unless APS and DADS are simply social worker jobs programs funded by the state taxpayers, the most important question to ask is whether they are actually helping or harming Texas seniors. The Open Records Project has requested the names of individuals disappeared and looted by APS and DADS. We do not expect to receive any information. As a result, we depend on whistleblowers for much of our data. These are courageous professionals that are horrified by the state-sponsored looting of Texas seniors and who take substantial professional risks to reply to openrecords.org and tell us what they know. In the cases we have exposed so far, we have been able to extract the senior survivors of incarceration and looting. This has been completely accomplished by volunteers. These are Texas taxpayers who have other jobs and choose to donate their time and money to do work that the paid caring professionals failed at so miserably. A key element to remember is that in all of the North Texas elder looting cases that received media coverage, they resulted in judges reversing themselves. Essentially, the judges said, "We were wrong, APS was wrong." Elder looting is so heinous and objectionable to the public that when exposed to sunlight, judges, APS workers, for-profit guardians all run for darkness. We suggest that this committee run for the light and direct the Texas Rangers to interview the victims of APS and DADS elder looting and report their findings back to this committee.
Thank you, Mr. Fish. Appreciate your testimony. I want to have one quick question for you, which is, what is the most typical way for one of those guardianships to be instituted when, say, you have someone, as Mr. Schiffler gave a few examples of someone that, maybe doesn't have children and they go into the hospital or they have some sort of accident? Who initiates the proceeding?
APS will take custody of these individuals.
How are they notified?
If you go to the website, openrecords.org, we explain the procedure. There's 4 steps to elder looting. And it's a very sophisticated process, and it involves lots of people, and it's required. We've been working on this for 4 years to kind of unwind this. We have fraud examiners that are working through the finances. There's Medicaid fraud involved here. There's certainly fraud in some of the probate courts. But APS is the gatekeeper, and they depend on 4 types of informants to help them identify targets. We call them the marks. And these are marks because they have assets, they have houses that are paid for or have equity, and they tend not to have children. That makes them vulnerable. The people that turn them in, sometimes it's a disgruntled neighbor that's seeking retribution because a tree limb fell. Sometimes it is a relative, a grandson that grandmama won't give him money because he'll spend it on drugs. He'll turn grandmama in. Sometimes we've had a number of cases, including one yesterday, where home health care workers are turning people in. There may be some sort of relationship between these home health care workers and some of the for-profit elements. We're trying to understand that. Finally, there clearly is somebody inside some of these hospitals. Methodist Richardson is an excellent example. There's somebody that's tipping people off inside of Methodist Richardson, tipping off APS, saying, we got a live one, come get them.
Thank you for your testimony. Yes, Senator Hinojosa.
Were there any complaints being filed with the agency?
You've got to be kidding. I mean, you've got to be kidding. These are people that are criminals. When you go into court on these cases, and these are the only cases that we can find out about because somebody, a neighbor, or occasionally a relative has come over the transom to us. Otherwise, they're deeply covered up. You go into court and you have Adult Protective Services there, and you have the district attorney representing Adult Protective Services. Who are you going to complain to? Now, the Texas Rangers, that's part of their job, is to seek out corruption. Other than that, it's the feds.
Let me ask you, is this happening all over the state or in a particular region?
Well, since we are based in North Texas, that's where we have the most boots on the ground and the most volunteers. And those are the ones where we've actually gone into court. We've gone into the houses. We've gone and met the people. We've gone into the asylums. In some cases, we've snuck equipment in. We've gotten videos and so forth. We're hearing from Houston. We're hearing from San Antonio. We're hearing from Austin. And as there's more publicity, more people are contacting us. The reason that Rangers should probably be involved is to determine how massive is this.
I don't want to cut you off. So I guess what we're going to focus on is on the process for appointing of guardianships.
Well, the first process is the capture. OpenRecords.org, I mean, we lay it out. This is how you capture these people. And then this is how you eviscerate them financially, and this is how you make sure they can't get out. This is how you take their assets. This is how you liquidate their assets.
Isn't the court involved in the process?
The probate court is definitely part of the problem. But the probate court can only deal with what APS brings to them. APS goes out, captures somebody, and then presents it to the court.
Representative Burkett.
A quick question. In your testimony, you said that you had submitted an open records request but didn't anticipate response.
Yes.
Who was that submitted to? Is that to the agency? Or
To the agency.
The courts?
To the agency, not to the agency.
Why do you feel like you won't get a response?
We've been doing this for 20 years. So in the early days, people actually would respond to these requests. But what would happen is our people are sophisticated enough that we can do fraud analytics, and we can find where the law is being broken, and people go to jail. And so the agencies, just like the IRS and the VA, they're not going to respond. They will sit there and stonewall. So we don't expect anything. But fortunately, we have whistleblowers, and that's how we find out what's going on. There are 50,000 employees inside Human Services. They're not all criminals. There's a small element of rogues, and it's that 99% that go, oh my gosh, these people are making me look bad. And those are the people that say, we need to get this to the Open Records Project, because they will either get it to Fox News or they might get it to one of those Senate committees.
Right. So have you submitted your open records request? Is it past the time period that is allowed?
It is not.
Thank you.
Members, any other questions? Thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. Fish. Linda Frizzell.
Good morning.